The door creaked open just as Jamie's lips met mine, our hands intertwined in that quiet moment of stolen affection in my dimly lit apartment. My heart skipped a beat, not from fear, but from the realization that my little brother Mike stood there, eyes wide, backpack slipping from his shoulder. Instead of pulling away in panic, I held Jamie closer, meeting Mike's gaze with a calm that surprised even me. Knowing this was the moment everything would change. I grew up in a small town in rural Ohio, where the biggest excitement was Friday night football games and church potlucks on Sundays. My family was the epitome of Midwestern values. Dad worked at the local factory, Mom volunteered at the community center, and my little brother Mike was the golden child, always acing his tests and charming everyone with his infectious grin. Me? I was Beckett, the older son who left for college in New York City and never looked back, chasing dreams of becoming a graphic designer while hiding the part of myself that didn't fit the family portrait. That afternoon, Mike had shown up unannounced, using the spare key I'd given him for emergencies. He was 15 now, taller than I remembered, with that awkward teenage slouch. "Surprise visit from home," he texted earlier, but I hadn't checked my phone amid the chaos of deadlines and Jamie's unexpected drop-by. Jamie was my boyfriend of 6 months, a fellow artist I'd met at a gallery opening. He was everything I wasn't. Outgoing, unapologetically himself, with a laugh that could light up the darkest room. We'd been careful, or so I thought, keeping our relationship low-key because I wasn't ready to face the fallout from my conservative roots. When Mike walked in, the air thickened with unspoken questions. Jamie froze, but I didn't. "Hey, kiddo," I said, my voice steady as I released Jamie's hand but kept my arm around his shoulder. "This is Jamie, my boyfriend." Mike's face flushed red, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. He dropped his bag with a thud and backed up a step, mumbling something about needing the bathroom before bolting down the hall. Jamie turned to me, eyebrows raised. "You okay?" That was bold. I nodded, though my stomach churned. Bold? It felt like liberation mixed with terror. For years, I tiptoed around my identity, dating girls in high school to blend in, enduring Dad's offhand jokes about those city types during holiday calls. Mom would always change the subject, but I knew she suspected something. Mike, though he was innocent, shielded from the world's complexities. Or so I believed. Later that evening, after Jamie left with a supportive squeeze of my hand, Mike emerged from his shell-shocked state. We sat on the couch, pizza boxes between us, the TV droning some mindless sitcom. "So, you're gay?" he finally asked, not meeting my eyes. I took a deep breath. "Yeah, Mike, I am. Have been for a long time." He poked at his slice, cheese stringing out. "Does Mom know?" "Dad." I shook my head. "Not yet, but now you do." The conversation spiraled from there. Mike wasn't angry, not exactly. He was confused, peppering me with questions about when I knew, why I hadn't told him, if Jamie was nice. It was sweet, in a way, his concern laced with that sibling protectiveness. But underneath, I sensed the seeds of conflict. "What if people at school find out?" he whispered, as if saying it aloud would make it real. "They'd think it's weird." I felt a pang. My little brother, already navigating the minefield of peer pressure, now burdened with my secret. That night, as Mike crashed on the pull-out couch, I lay awake, replaying the scene. Not hiding had felt right, a choice born from exhaustion of pretense. But was it fair to drag him into this? The next morning, over pancakes, Mike seemed lighter, even cracking a joke about Jamie's cool hair. We spent the day wandering Central Park, talking about everything but the elephant in the room. Yet, I knew this was just the beginning. Back home, our family was a powder keg of unspoken expectations, and Mike's visit was the spark. As the weekend progressed, subtle cracks appeared. Mike mentioned how Dad had been ranting about a local news story on same-sex marriage, calling it against God's plan. Mom, ever the peacemaker, had shushed him, but the tension lingered. "I don't want to lie to them," Mike admitted one evening, as we watched the city lights from my balcony. "But what if they freak out?" I pulled him into a hug, feeling his uncertainty mirror my own from years ago. "We'll figure it out together," I promised, though doubt gnawed at me. By Sunday, when Mike boarded the train back to Ohio, our bond felt stronger, forged in honesty. He waved goodbye with a tentative smile, phone in hand with Jamie's number, just in case. Little did I know, that moment of exposure would ripple outward, challenging not just our family, but the very fabric of who we thought we were. Back in New York, life resumed its frantic pace, but Mike's visit lingered like a shadow. Jamie and I grew closer, our dates evolving from hidden coffee runs to public strolls hand in hand. He pushed me gently, encouraging me to embrace my truth. "You're not just coming out to your brother," he'd say. "You're coming out to yourself." His words resonated, but fear held me back from calling home. Then the call came. It was Mom, her voice tight with worry. "Beckett, Mike's been acting strange since he got back. Quiet, withdrawn. Did something happen in the city?" My pulse raced. I could lie, brush it off as teenage angst, but the weight of deception felt heavier than ever. "Mom, there's something I need to tell you." I started, my words tumbling out in a rush. I explained about Jamie, about being gay, about Mike walking in on us. Silence stretched on the line, broken only by her soft gasp. "Dad's not going to like this?" she finally said, her tone a mix of sadness and resignation. "He's set in his ways, you know that." I did. Dad was a man of few words, but those he spoke carried the weight of scripture. Church every Sunday, no exceptions. Growing up, any deviation from the norm was met with stern lectures. I braced for the storm. It hit 2 days later. Dad called, his voice booming through the speaker. "What the hell is this nonsense Mike told us? You're confused, son. It's that city influence." I tried to explain, but he cut me off. "No, Beckett. We raised you better. Come home, we'll sort this out." Sort it out, like it was a phase, a mistake to fix. Anger flared in me, hot and unyielding. "This is who I am, Dad. It's not something to sort." The argument escalated. Words like disappointment and family shame hurled like daggers. Mom mediated, but the damage was done. Mike, caught in the middle, texted me apologies. "I didn't mean to out you. They kept asking why I was upset." Guilt twisted in my gut. He was just a kid, thrust into adult conflicts. I reassured him it wasn't his fault, but the rift in our family widened. Jamie became my anchor through it all. We'd meet after work, sharing stories of our own coming-out journeys. His family had been supportive, a stark contrast to mine. "Give them time," he'd advise, but time felt like an enemy. Social media amplified the drama. Distant relatives posted vague Bible verses on Facebook, clearly aimed at me. Friends from home unfollowed me, whispers of judgment reaching even my city bubble. One evening, as Jamie and I attended a pride event in the village, the reality hit harder. Amid the rainbow flags and cheers, I felt exposed, vulnerable. A group of protesters shouted slurs from the sidelines, their signs decrying sinful lifestyles. Jamie pulled me close, but memories of Dad's words echoed. Was my choice to not hide selfish, endangering Mike to bullying or family strife? Back home, tensions boiled over. Mike confided in texts about arguments at dinner, Dad's silence turning to outbursts. "He says you're choosing this over family," Mike wrote. My heart ached. Choosing? As if love was a switch to flip. I decided to visit Ohio, confront it head-on. Jamie offered to come, but I declined. This was my battle. Arriving at the familiar farmhouse, the air felt thick with unspoken accusations. Dad greeted me curtly, Mom with a hug that lingered too long. Mike hovered, eyes pleading for peace. Dinner was a minefield. Small talk veering into politics. Dad's comments on traditional values pointed barbs. When I brought up Jamie, the table erupted. "You're not bringing that into our home," Dad declared. "Think about your brother. What example are you setting?" Mike's face crumpled. "It's not fair," he muttered. "Beckett is happy. Why can't that be enough?" His defense stunned us all, a spark of allyship amid the chaos. But Dad stormed out, leaving us in fractured silence. That night, as I lay in my childhood bed, doubts crept in. Had my refusal to mind being caught ignited unnecessary pain? The visit stretched into a week of uneasy truces and heated debates. Mom shared stories of her own youthful rebellions, hinting at understanding. Dad remained stoic, but cracks showed. A reluctant question about my job, an avoidance of the topic. Mike, though, blossomed in quiet ways, researching LGBTQ plus resources online, sharing articles with me. I want to understand, he said. Our bond deepened, but the family's wounds were raw. Leaving Ohio, I felt a mix of hope and sorrow. Jamie waited at the airport, his embrace a reminder of what I'd fought for. Yet, the conflicts lingered, society's judgments a constant undercurrent. Months passed, and the fallout from my coming out rippled through unexpected channels. At work, colleagues were supportive, but whispers from a hometown connection led to awkward client interactions. One investor pulled out of a project, citing personal values misalignment. It stung. My identity bleeding into professional life, a stark reminder of societal biases. Jamie and I navigated our relationship amid this turbulence. We argued more, stress fraying our edges. Why not fight back publicly? He'd urge, suggesting a social media post. But I hesitated, fearing further alienation from family. Mike's texts became lifelines. School's rough. Some kids heard about you and teased me. Guilt surged. Was my openness a burden on him? Then came the school incident. Mike called in tears one evening. A guy in my class called me names. Said our families messed up because of you. Rage boiled in me, but so did regret. I flew home immediately, confronting the principal alongside Mom. Dad refused to join, muttering about not making a spectacle. The meeting was tense, the administrator sympathetic but evasive. Bullying is unacceptable, she said, but no real action followed. Mike's resilience shone. He stood tall, defending me. My brother's gay, so what? It doesn't change anything. That night, Dad and I clashed again. See what you've caused? He accused. Mike's paying for your choices. I countered, no, Dad. Society's paying for its intolerance. Why can't you support us? For the first time, vulnerability flickered in his eyes. I don't understand it, Beckett. But I love you. It wasn't acceptance, but a crack in the armor. Back in New York, Jamie proposed a bold step, attending a family therapy session via video. I agreed, hoping for healing. The call was raw, tears, accusations, revelations. Mom admitted fearing judgment from church friends. Dad shared his upbringing in a stricter era. Mike spoke up. I caught Beckett with Jamie, and it didn't gross me out. It just made me see love differently. Jamie's presence humanized me, his stories bridging gaps. Progress was slow, but tangible. Dad sent a tentative text. Tell Jamie hello. Mom joined a PFLAG group. Yet, external pressures mounted. A conservative relative outed me on a family forum, sparking debates. Cousins divided. Some supportive, others condemning. Social media trolls targeted my profiles, spewing hate. Jamie and I faced stares in public, once even a verbal assault in a diner. Faggots ruining America, the man sneered. We walked away, but the wound festered. These incidents fueled my resolve. I started volunteering at an LGBTQ plus youth center, mentoring kids like Mike once was. One teen's story mirrored mine. Caught kissing his boyfriend, family rejection following. Sharing my journey brought catharsis, but also controversy. A local news piece on the center featured me, drawing praise and backlash. Hometown papers picked it up, labeling it scandalous. Mike visited again during summer break, transformed. I'm starting a GSA at school, he announced proudly. Gay-straight alliance, his initiative amid potential ridicule. Pride swelled in me, but worry too. Be careful, I warned. He shrugged. You taught me not to mind. Our days were filled with city adventures. Museums, parks, even a discreet double date with Jamie's friends. But undercurrents of debate simmered. Mike questioned societal norms. Why is love controversial? We discussed politics, religion, the evolving American landscape. Jamie added perspectives on intersectionality, broadening our views. One evening, a heated family call tested bonds. Dad challenged Jamie directly. "What makes you think this is right?" Jamie responded calmly. "Love doesn't need justification, sir. It's just love." Silence followed, then Dad's gruff admission. "Maybe I need time to see that." As summer waned, conflicts peaked in a community event back home. Mike invited me to his school's diversity fair, where he'd present on LGBTQ plus history. Dad attended reluctantly, but a heckler's disruption, shouting slurs, ignited chaos. Dad stepped in, defending Mike. "That's my son. Show respect." It was a turning point, his protectiveness extending to my world. Returning to New York, I reflected on the journey. Choices had sparked pain, but also growth. Society's clashes mirrored our families, debates on acceptance raging nationally. Yet, in the midst, love persisted. The following fall brought new trials, as national events amplified personal struggles. With midterm elections heating up, anti-LGBTQ plus rhetoric flooded the airwaves. Bills targeting queer rights made headlines, echoing Dad's old views. He called one night, voice hesitant. "Saw the news. Makes me think about what I said to you." It was progress, but incomplete. Actions spoke louder. Jamie and I hit a rough patch. The constant external pressure strained us. He wanted to move in together, solidify our commitment. I wavered, fearing it would sever remaining family ties. "Are you ashamed?" he asked during a fight. "No," I insisted. "Just scared." We reconciled, but the question lingered. Was my caution cowardice? Mike's GSA faced opposition. Parents petitioned the school board, claiming it promoted agendas. Mike testified bravely, "It's about support, not agendas." Media coverage followed. My name dragged in as the gay brother. Supporters rallied, but so did detractors. A viral post accused our family of corrupting youth, sparking online harassment. Mike stood firm, but the toll showed in his weary texts. I returned to Ohio for the board meeting, Jamie by my side this time. The room buzzed with tension. Supporters in rainbow pins, opponents with signs quoting scripture. Dad surprised us by attending, sitting quietly. When my turn came, I spoke. "My brother's initiative isn't radical. It's human. I hid for years, and it nearly broke me. Don't let fear win." Applause mixed with boos. Dad approached afterward, eyes misty. "Proud of you both." It wasn't full endorsement, but a step. Jamie squeezed my hand, whispering, "See? Change happens." Back in New York, we celebrated small victories. Jamie moved in, our apartment a sanctuary. Family visits increased. Mom came first, baking cookies and asking genuine questions about our life. Dad followed months later, awkward but trying. He even met Jamie properly, sharing a beer and stories of his youth. Yet, controversies persisted. A workplace discrimination suit against a colleague highlighted ongoing biases. I joined advocacy efforts, speaking at panels. One event turned heated. A debate on family values versus modern perversions. I argued for inclusivity, facing pointed questions. "Doesn't your lifestyle confuse children like your brother?" I countered. "Love clarifies, hate confuses." Mike thrived, his GSA growing. He dated a girl, but remained an ally, challenging friends' prejudices. Our talks deepened. "What if Dad never fully accepts?" he'd ask. "Then we love him anyway," I'd reply. High drama struck when a relative's wedding excluded us, citing traditional ceremony. Hurt rippled through the family. Mom confronted them. "Family means all of us." Dad shockingly agreed. The boycott ensued, our absence a statement. As winter approached, Jamie proposed during a quiet dinner. "Through all this, you're my constant." Tears flowed as I said yes. Sharing the news with family was nerve-wracking. Mike cheered. Mom cried happily. Dad paused. Then, "Congratulations, sons." Sons plural. Acceptance in a word. Planning the wedding ignited fresh debates. Venue choices, guest lists, each a minefield of opinions. Society's gaze intensified. A local blog post questioned gay weddings in conservative families. We pushed forward, inviting all, knowing some would decline. The day arrived in spring, a small ceremony in Central Park. Dad walked me down the aisle, a gesture of reconciliation. Mike stood as best man, beaming. Vows exchanged. Rings slipped on, love triumphant amid tears. But not without final friction. A protesting group lingered nearby, signs waving. We ignored them, focusing on joy. In the reception, Dad toasted. To love in all its forms. Took me time, but I'm here. Reflecting later, choices had woven a tapestry of conflict and growth. Society's debates mirrored ours. Progress amid pushback. Post-wedding life settled into a rhythm of normalcy, but echoes of past dramas lingered. Jamie and I honeymooned in California, basking in coastal freedom, yet news of setbacks. Court rulings rolling back rights tempered our bliss. Back home, advocacy became routine. I mentored more youth, Jamie volunteered at shelters. Family dynamics evolved. Holidays blended traditions. Thanksgiving in Ohio with rainbow touches. Christmas in New York with Midwestern feasts. Dad's questions grew thoughtful. How do you handle the hate? We'd discuss bridging generational gaps. Mom flourished in her support group, even marching in a local pride parade. Mike, now 16, navigated his own path. His GSA hosted events, drawing both acclaim and criticism. A school paper article praised him, but backlash followed, a petition to disband. He fought back, rallying students. Inspired by my brother, he told reporters. Pride swelled, but so did protectiveness. Had my exposure empowered or endangered him? Societal clashes intensified nationally. Protests, policies, polarized media, our story a microcosm. Friends shared similar tales. Families torn, reconciled, or lost. Debates raged in our circles. Was coming out always worth the pain? Jamie argued yes. I nuanced it with depends on readiness. One evening, over dinner with family via video, tensions resurfaced. A news segment on conversion therapy sparked argument. Dad admitted past temptations. Thought about it for you, Beckett. Glad I didn't. Vulnerability hung heavy. Mike challenged. Why even consider it? Love isn't fixable. We nodded, but the admission stirred old wounds. As years blurred, our bond strengthened. Mike graduated high school, heading to college in Boston, closer to us. He came out as an ally publicly, writing an essay on sibling support. Published online, it went viral, drawing praise and trolls alike. Your family's story gives hope, comments read, but others, disgusting influence on youth. Jamie and I considered starting a family, adoption discussions underway. Family reactions varied. Excitement from Mom, caution from Dad. Ready for the judgments? He asked. We've faced worse, I replied. Reflecting on that fateful day Mike caught us, choices cascaded like dominoes. Not minding had sparked chaos, but also authenticity. Conflicts, social, familial, internal, forged resilience. In America's divided landscape, our narrative challenged norms, provoking thought. Was it right to expose my truth without regret, even if it ignited family and societal turmoil?